right, Marty. Thank you for having me back. And if I'm correct, yep, you cut into a minute of my time already. So, now, in all seriousness, before we get started, I need everybody to stand up. Get up out of your chairs. Stand up out of your chairs. Get up. Now, turn to your right. Walk around your table. Hurry up, let's go. Hurry up. Okay. Now stop.
Okay.
Stop. Just sit down where you're at. Hurry up. Come on, hurry up, let's go. We don't get time. Oh, I just felt like reminiscing like last year.
No, we got sorry, Tom, your time's up.
That's actually during Cedar Queen.
I don't think so. I can tell you why. Oh, Batman.
I know the Joker.
Anyways, glad to be back here. This hotel, what a nice place. Honest to Pete, this is nice. You guys should have found this place years ago. The other place is hell. Crumbled. It's nothing there. Anyways. Lots going on in the last year or so. Then I see a question already. What? Yeah, I got it. If you feel like getting up moving around again, and you're really, if your butt was really enjoying that seat. Yeah. There you go. Now, Bruce, you can't have somebody sitting in your lap. So, let's just jump into what's been going on in PTC the last year. We did a lot over the summer. I did a job for Nagashima Spa Land. We did our second train for them. And like I said last year, Mr. Otani, they built the ride in '95, 3 new trains. And then 10 years later, he insisted on having 3 new more trains, and then now we're up to 3 more trains again, because he just insists that it's time to buy new trains every 10 years. And there's nothing wrong with the other trains, but I can't argue with the man. The customer's always right, so. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And I was over in Japan last September or August or something like that, and I did a whirlwind of different amusement parks, and hopefully we'll have some nice things to tell you next year this time. So just give me a little nibble. So, go ahead, flip aside, slide. There it is, the White Cyclone.
Yeah.
If you haven't been there, it's an amazing ride to see. They did a wonderful job in '95 when they built it. It's still quite a marvel at nighttime, and they have those lights underneath shining up through this mammoth structure. Next, what else we got? We had a surprise. I got a call from Dan Cook, and he says, we're going to open up the Rampage. And I said, well, that's great. He said, do you think it's okay if we just run the trains around? And I was like, no, it hasn't run since when? And they said, well, we found a police badge from 2011 in the bottom of one of the cars, so we kind of think it's been off since 2011. I said, I don't think I would want to run that train around the track. So they sent the train back to us, and it came back, and we looked at it and went, what the? What did they do to this thing? It was unbelievable. There were parts missing. There was so much rust on it. It was just, you stand there, and my guys who had built it, been there when we built it, they were just standing there looking at it, going, it didn't leave here looking like that, and nothing ever does. It's a shame when something like that comes back, I had flip it. Come on, help me to get this right. It was just a mess, and it's heartbreaking when something like that comes back, and we couldn't figure out why upholstery was missing and why they took all the certain parts off, and the only thing we could figure is maybe they were using it to cannibalize and use it for the other train that they had there. But there a couple weeks or 2-3 months or so we had it, and now flip it. Brand new cars, they wanted it painted, and I said, well, you know, they're originally black, what color do you want them painted? And the response I got was, Raven Red. Yes, sir, I will do that, we can do that, yes. So we painted them a nice red for them, next, sent them back to them, and from what I understand, they really enjoyed it. They had a nice soft opening, and they had how many were at that event? Good. A whole 3 people. So I was told they had a very nice time, and they're supposed to be this year when they reopen in the spring. They're going to have a bigger coaster event for the Rampedes, from what I was told. So. I think that's very nice of them to bring life back to this coaster, and I know they put a lot of time and money into getting this thing up and running. It's not cheap. It was probably cheaper to send the cars back to us and have us rebuild them. Like they had to go and buy a new chain for that thing. Just imagine a bicycle chain 100 times bigger and 3,000 times longer, and how heavy it is, and what it costs to get that shipped from England. So, but they did it. What are we getting next? Janine made this for me. The little pooch, she's not here. She's not even. She's in. All right, we got Six Flags Roar. They send one train each year for the Roar, one for the Wild One. Next. Surprise, the Wild One. So every year they alternate the trains, and we bring them back up to snuff and make them pretty. And next, Legend from Holiday World. Next. Next, yeah, there we go, Raven. And we got Green Bay sent their trains back for us to go over and make sure everything's okay for them, because they're a city-owned park, and it's just like love dealing with bureaucracy and the chain of command and all that other stuff. But we got the cars back, and we're taking care of them, getting all back ship shape and back so we can run them again. Next, Mean Streaks in the shop, and Cedar Point's been wonderful. They've been trusting us to take care of and bring everything, make it pretty again, and make them run nice. I'm sorry? The bugs off? I'm lost, I don't have to do about that. Yeah, let's move on. Obviously, there's something I'm not aware of. And the Blue Streak is back after its 50th anniversary of running for the summer. So I saw there was a sign over there, Blue Streak. Is that up for auction?
Nope.
Nope? Then, what is it?
Old Pony Museum.
Ah, very nice. That came aboard Wood. They have 3 trains, and send one back to us, and then we send it back after 3 or 4 months, and then they send us the next one, and so on, so we can rotate them out, keep them up and running. And Clementon Hellcat, and it's still called the Hellcat this year. It's been like 3 years, 4 years now, it's still called the Hellcat. Next. It's just stuff around the shop, how everything gets stacked and tagged and labeled and new. On next. Next. That's Mean Street, all tore apart, all the components, everything getting rebuilt, stock room. Next. Cars being laid out, ready for reassembly. Back in the lap bar assembly area, mechanisms getting rebuilt. This was at IAPA this year. It was fun, and it was funny to listen to Brian and Rick talk about their dad. And he was, all the years I've known Dick, very few times he ever goes, he didn't know what to say. He was just, he had a speech, he pulled out a speech, he said, I didn't have time to get to the teleprompter, guys, so I'm just going to read it to you. It was total Dick Knoll. It was congratulations and well deserved. It's just a couple photos of our booth. Let's see, some updates. What kind of updates? Oh, Ace. Ace is doing fine. Although when I was in Japan, I talked to my wife, and an hour later I was with my customer, and we're sitting in the 14th floor of this restaurant overlooking Tokyo Bay, and it's like 8:30 at night, and then 3 miles off across the bay and 3 miles out, you can see Disneyland fireworks going off. And I'm thinking, this is the perfect ending to a great trip I had the entire week I was there. And my phone buzzes. It's my wife. It says, can you call me? And I'm thinking, I just talked over an hour before. Something is wrong. So I call her. I said, what's up? Now, where we board our 2 horses, they went out in the morning. There was a thunderstorm the night before, and they went out in the morning. And Ace wasn't in his stall. Apparently during the thunderstorm, he got riled up and kicked the door just enough that it knocked it off its bottom hinge or wheel, and it opened up, and he backed up into it. He backed up into the paddock area, into where all the other barn doors are. And he's loose inside the barn. Okay, the barn doors are closed, he's not going anywhere. But he walked over and then decided he was going to have a snack. And he snapped the chain that goes into the feed room. And I'm listening to my wife, she's telling me this, and I'm going, oh, crap, I can just hear this now, what's going on? He ate 50 pounds of grain. Now, normally for breakfast and dinner, they get 1 scoop about the size of a number 10 coffee can. This pig ate 50 pounds of grain. Now, if you know anything about horses, they don't eat that much. They get colic, their stomach twisted. So now I'm in Japan thinking, okay, I gotta make a decision here. If the doctor, the veterinarian says, we can't help you if the stomach twists, it's a terrible, terrible thing to see, and I've seen it with horses. You gotta either let them suffer or you put them down. So when I'm sitting in Tokyo with my mind thinking this, what's gonna happen? Because I know the veterinarian comes and they stick a 6-foot hose up his nose, and then they start pumping hot water into his stomach. That way the grain will stay loose, it won't get hard. So they kept getting loose and loose. Once it got loose, and they got enough water in him, I stayed in Tokyo an extra day because I didn't want to clean the stall. Our friends Dee and Nancy, who take care of the barn, it's their barn and their farm, he said, I know he ate 50 pounds, but there was like 300 pounds came I don't know, we just got shoveled into his stall now, and he just kept filling it back up. So he's doing fine, he's good. Yes?
Does it surprise you that an ACE member would eat that much?
See, I didn't want to bring that up. And he's just like an ACE member, because when they bring him in from the barn, from the pasture for dinner, oh, he just tries to jump in front of somebody else and get to the food line before everybody else. Next. Sorry, I went off on a tangent. Stop by if you're around the area. We're always open. Give you a tour. Give me a call. Let me know. Be sure I'm going to be there. Next. Parking is always free. And the gift shop is still under construction. Next. All right. I get to travel, and that's part of one of the fun things about the job. And I see things sometimes that you just look and go, what? Go ahead. This is when ACE members carpool and start looking like each other. Next. Oh, our favorite welder in China. Cereal box, sunray, glasses. Next. The Ace store on its way to Chicago. Not me, I didn't do it. Any questions? Oh, come on, no questions? Yes, sir.
After you repair or build a car, what kind of testing do you do? Does that include like vibration testing and things like that?
We tear the car down completely to its, I send it out and have a baking soda plastic, put the paint and dirt grease on, and we bring back in, we do a visual inspection on the chassis, but anything that's welded, anything that's casted, we do a non-destructive testing, a mag particle testing. There are some pieces we will, if we're in a question, we'll go and actually do an ultrasonic testing on it, but most of the time before we manufacture parts, we'll ultrasonic the solid bar material, because once you cut it up, then there's lines in it, so we do that beforehand. But when they come back, we put it back to factory's testing, or standards. The wheels are all put back in frames. They're set at a certain gauge, so they have certain mobility into them. And guys, we have grinders that we put rubber wheels onto and just run the wheels while they're sitting on a vise at the table, and just let the run wheel, or let it run, make sure everything spins fine. Put it back on the car. We do the same thing, make sure nothing's pinched and twisted. So, yes, we do several different testing. When we're done, we have a nice book that we send back to the park, and that way when their state inspector comes in and says, what do you got different? They hand them a book and say, right from the factory. The state inspector goes, that's good enough for me, because I know that people. Seriously, that's why I had a question. Somebody asked me last night, federal regulations on amusement parks. There's none. We all know what the federal government did for the automobile industry back in the 60s and 70s, but there's nothing on amusement parks. They're trying. They're constantly trying. And the amusement industry's been lucky enough that we've been ahead of whatever that standards they come up with. We're like, no, we already passed that. We already do testing. We already do training. We already do seminars for maintenance mechanics for the parks to come. I open up my factory. In fact, I just sent two of my guys out to a park, because they said, we hired some new people and we just want to make sure that they know right from the source what to do. So, the amusement industry's ahead of the curve on this. Yes?
Since China buys new trains, where's the old ones?
I'm sorry, say it again?
Since China's buying new trains for their rides, are they keeping their old ones, or are they sending the old ones back to you back?
China? Japan. No, I don't know what they're doing with them. I don't ask. It's, most of the time, I can't understand what they're saying anyway. So, no, honestly, I guess they just cannibalize and put all the parts on the shelf and save it. So, I don't know. Maybe Dick Canoe buys them all. Yes, sir.
Where are some of the interesting places that you're selling coasters to nowadays? Where are some of the new roller coasters going up at?
Well, the last 5 years since, 09, 6 years, China, the market opened up there, the Chinese government opened up their regulations on how to build things, and because they know best. And so that was big, most interesting to deal with that, deal with the Chinese government is, so wonderful.
How many coasters have gone into China that you sold cars to?
We're involved with 5 of them there. All through Martin and Bentley's out of Florida. The French Canadians who live in Florida build roller coasters, structures all over the world. And next. Yes, sir.
How often do you turn down a train and see such unusual wear that you know that this park is not doing much?
Not that often. But when it happens, if the park is not paying attention to the train, we will make sure that the park managers, somebody's in our shop, and we're going to show them exactly what's going on. I'll give you a real good example. And I didn't have that slide up here. We had a park send a train back to us, and the guys called me on the radio and said, "Could you come out here into the shop?" All right, what's up? I can walk out, and I'm looking, and I'm going, "What in the world is that?" And they're like, "We don't know, we're not touching it." The train is upside down, or the car is upside down, the body's off of it. I'm looking at the wheels. And here on the running wheel, or tractor wheel, there's this thing. And I'm looking at it, and it's a woman's wig. Now, most of the summer, this park owner kept calling me. It's a small park. Park owner called me. He says, "You built the blue train to go faster than the red train. The red train to go slow around the track. It's throwing off all our system, blah, 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 blah." Built the same. No, they're not. You built them different. There's something wrong. Your people did something different out there. No, everything is fixture. Everything is laid out. Everything is exact, precise science. We know exactly what we're doing. Now, we've timed it. The red train goes around slow. That's well, then don't grease the wheels. There's something going on. Check all the wheels. But he would call me every couple of weeks. By the end of the season, he sent both trains back. Here, the red train, we find this wig wound up underneath one of the tractor wheels. Tractor wheel is flat. It's no longer 9-inch round. It's like round and flat. So now we have something that's locked on the coaster, and it's dragging, and it's a brake. So of course the train's going slower because it's got a brake on. It's like when you get in your car and you start driving away, and you can't figure out why. It's like, oh, the wife put the parking brake on in the garage. So I called the park owner up. He comes up the next day, and I said, "How often did your maintenance people check these cars and check the wheels and grease and do this?" "Every day. Every day they do it. Every day. Blah, 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 blah." And he's got his chief maintenance guy with him, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, we do it every day." And I said, "What's this?" "Oh, that's a wig." And it's on the red train. So, park people and maintenance people